The Emilia Romagna Grand Prix is over, and it was victory for Max Verstappen and Red Bull. But now F1 is moving from Imola to Monte Carlo for the Monaco Grand Prix, which means that once again it is time for my preview and predictions. This is a series where I'll be previewing and then at the end of the video giving out my early predictions for the Grand Prix. If you enjoyed the video then please hit the like button and subscribe for more F1 content. Now though, let's get into the video. As usual, I'll be talking about the top teams later on, so please do stick around for that. Yep, F1 is moving on from Imola to Monaco, and this year it is a Monaco Grand Prix with a slight twist, as the rules have been changed regarding the Grand Prix format to try and increase the excitement and potential for some actual on-track racing, and that is because this year the FIA has mandated that the Monaco Grand Prix must be a minimum of a 2-stop race, regardless of the weather conditions, meaning that if the entire race was run under intermediate conditions, then the teams would still have to do 2 pit stops as per the rules. If the race is fully dry, then they do still have to use 2 different compounds, as we still see, meaning that no, we will not see them have to use a soft, medium and hard tyre in the race. But it does mean that for the first time really since refueling was banned, we will see a proper multi-stop Monaco Grand Prix. Monaco is typically the toughest race on the calendar for on-track overtaking, and that is because the modern cars are really too big for this tiny little circuit. The circuit is very slow, very tight, and any mistakes are met with a trip into the barriers as runoff is non-existent. We have seen even the very best put the car in the wall at this circuit. It is brutally unforgiving, as you would expect at a circuit that is this tight, and given there is not really a single straight on the circuit, the teams will be bringing the maximum levels of downforce that they can get away with. This is not a circuit where straight line performance matters in the very least. Due to the Monaco circuit being the slowest on the calendar, the tyres don't take any punishment whatsoever. In fact, we typically see in qualifying that they can run the same soft tyres for pretty much the entire of Q1. Because of that, as you would expect, Pirelli are bringing the softest tyres in the range, meaning that the C4 is the hard tyre, the C5 is the medium, and the C6 will be the soft compound. Last year, pretty much everyone did a 0-stop race, as they changed the tyres during the red flag, and then ran the entire Grand Prix on the hard tyres. But we did see 7 racing pit stops during the Grand Prix. This year, pit stops are guaranteed to be 2 stops, so we will see some more pit stops. Overtaking at Monaco is pretty much impossible and as difficult as you would imagine, and you can see that as last year there was a grand total of 4 on-track overtakes. To help with overtaking, the circuit features 1 DRS zone down the pit straight heading into Saint-Devote. Hopefully with the mandated extra stops, we do see some racing and some mistakes, as the drivers might be forced to push a little bit harder. But honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't make a great deal of difference whatsoever. The circuit is just not suited to modern day F1 and is a better circuit for Formula E. Last year the pole position lap time was set by Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari, and Charles set a time of 1 minute 10.270. During that lap, Charles Leclerc reached a top speed of just 286 km per hour, which is 177 miles per hour, which goes to show just how slow the cars are around this circuit. During the Grand Prix itself, the race fastest lap was set by Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes, as Lewis set a time of 1 minute 14.165. With a mandated multi-stop and also steps off the tyres, then this year I expect that both the pole position lap time and the race fastest lap will be beaten quite easily. I just want to say if you are enjoying the video so far, then I would really appreciate it if you hit the like button and subscribe for more F1 content. I have also started a membership which you can join if you hit the join button down below. You don't have to, of course, it's very much optional, but it does help me out. Now though, let's get back to the video and let's talk about Ferrari. For Ferrari then, the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix was an incredible recovery drive after a disastrous qualifying session, as Lewis Hamilton recovered to P4 and Charles Leclerc was P6. Lewis Hamilton started on the hard tyres, and that turned out to be the correct starting tyre. Teammate Charles Leclerc was on the mediums, and he stopped for the hard tyres, and for a while it looked like that was the right call. However, bad timing on the VSC and also the safety car meant that Charles Leclerc was left out to dry on old hard tyres at the end of the Grand Prix, and there was nothing Ferrari could do, given he had no spare tyres left to use. For Ferrari, the race was pretty fantastic. However, there is a massive concern heading into Monaco. Ferrari couldn't make the C6 tyres work, and Monaco is all about qualifying. Ferrari need to figure this tyre out. Not only that, but Ferrari this year has really struggled with rear instability, and I fear that could make Monaco a more difficult race weekend than it has been in previous years. Charles Leclerc of course won the race last year, but unless they can sort out the qualifying woes, then I can't see them getting anywhere near the podium. Teammate Lewis Hamilton had a great recovery drive and was lucky with the timing of the safety cars at Imola, but this was a very good result for him, and there really is something now for him to try and build on in the Principality. The question for Ferrari is though, can they get the race strategy right, as it is a mandatory 2-stop race? For Red Bull then, it was an incredible return to the top step of the podium for Max Verstappen after he pulled off an incredible overtake around the outside of Tamburello to take the lead of the Grand Prix. And from there, Verstappen controlled the race beautifully. He opened the gap to Piastri and then just simply stayed out and controlled the gap, as Oscar had to make his way through the field after pitting. The timing of the VSC and also safety car really did help Verstappen, but it was a great drive from him. However, Red Bull are now heading to what could be their biggest challenge so far this year, the Monaco Grand Prix. Last year, Monaco was a massive struggle for Red Bull, and that year they were more competitive than they currently are. If the floor upgrade really has helped them, then we could see them competing for the win, but as we have seen so many times over the last 12 months, slow speed corners and slow speed circuits are not where Red Bull thrive. As I have said so many points over the last season, the slower corners and the rear traction zones are a weakness for Red Bull, and Monaco is all slow speed corners and rear traction zones using the mechanical grip. If Verstappen gets a podium here, then just maybe Verstappen will win the Drivers' Championship this year. Teammate Yuki Tsunoda managed to recover to P10, but honestly it was a poor weekend from him. I think a top 8 in Monaco could be pretty tricky for the Japanese driver. For Mercedes then, the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix will be one to forget. George Russell may have had a brilliant qualifying session, but the race pace was severely lacking, as they were just really struggling with tyre wear. The medium tyres were just not working for them. Russell was struggling for pace, and Kimi Antonelli was dreadfully slow on the medium tyres just before breaking down, although I do think his pace was somewhat limited due to the car failing. For Mercedes, they are going to want to put this race behind them and move on to Monaco, because I think Monaco could be a much better weekend for them. Ferrari and Red Bull have had plenty of issues at this type of circuit so far this year. Red Bull for the last year has really struggled at rear limited circuits as they couldn't get any rear traction. Meanwhile, Ferrari this year haven't got good rear stability. Russell has been very solid this year, and I can potentially see him fighting for the podium. Teammate Kimi Antonelli will be looking to bounce back and impress as well at the Principality. The high-speed corners where Antonelli has been struggling are non-existent around this circuit, therefore he could get a top 5 finish. Finally, for McLaren then, the winning streak of Oscar Piastri is over, as he was beaten by a brilliant move by Max Verstappen at the beginning of the Grand Prix, and then some bad timing of the safety cars put an end to any hope that he had of winning the race or even getting involved with the fight. McLaren did a 2-stop for Piastri, and with the final safety car, much like with Charles Leclerc, Piastri had no tyres left, and therefore couldn't do anything. For teammate Lando Norris, he will be glad that he was able to put a brilliant move on his teammates and get a P2 result. But McLaren are heading to a race at Monaco, which should be absolutely dominated by them. This is the kind of circuit where McLaren thrive. Plenty of traction zones and slow speed corners. We saw last year just how fast they could be here, and with Ferrari being weaker this year, then there shouldn't be anything that stops them. If there is anything that stops them, then it is the fact that it is a mandatory 2-stop race, and McLaren potentially could get something wrong with the strategy. Other than that, I expect a very strong weekend from them this year. With that in mind then, what are my very early predictions for the Monaco Grand Prix? Well, in the midfield, I think that the top midfield team and midfield driver will be Pierre Gasly in the Alpine. He doesn't need to worry about any Renault reliability woes at Monaco, and well, I think this should be a good circuit for the Alpine car. But what about pole position and the top 5? Well, for pole position, I'm going to go for Oscar Piastri in the McLaren to bounce back and get pole position. But what about the top 5 in the Grand Prix? Well, in P5, I'm going to go for Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari, hoping that he does have a good qualifying session and can at least do something in the race. P4 will be Max Verstappen in the Red Bull, P3 will be George Russell in the Mercedes, P2 will be Lando Norris, and I'm going to go for Oscar Piastri to recover and win the Monaco Grand Prix. But those are my thoughts. The question is, what do you guys think will happen? In the comment section down below, please do let me know. And as always, comment, leave a like and subscribe for more F1 content. Thank you all so much for watching.